Hi, everyone. It's Joe Veneri, the host of Fit Insider, the show where I talk with the entrepreneurs, executives, and investors who are redefining the business of fitness and wellness. Today, I'm joined by John Burns, CEO of TB12. TB12 is a health and wellness company founded by Tom Brady and his personal trainer, Alex Guerrero. In this episode, we talk about the company's mission to help people perform better and live pain-free. Building a business that encompasses physical locations, digital content, nutritional supplements, fitness equipment, and more. And John talks about the company's plan to develop an education and certification program for TB12 coaches. Let's get into it. A quick reminder before we get into today's show. Every Tuesday, we send a weekly newsletter filled with insights and analysis on the business of fitness and wellness. Join other decision makers and industry operators by subscribing at insider.fit.co. Hi, John. Welcome to Fit Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to this conversation. And to kick things off, can you tell listeners about yourself and what you're building at TB12?
Yeah, happy to. So I'm the CEO of TB12, which was founded by Tom Brady and Alex Guerrero. We'll talk more about that in a moment. I've been in and around consumer brands for better part of the last 15, 20 years, both as an investor and an operator. I've been fortunate to be around some really great brands, particularly in and around fitness, health and wellness, and healthy food. Companies like Spartan Race, EverybodyFights, now TB12, Yasso frozen Greek yogurt, Grillos Pickles. So been around some cool companies and been around health and wellness for some time. Here at TB12, we are a company, as I said, founded by sixth-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady, I should add, and his body coaching friend, Alex Guerrero. And our business is all about the things that they've learned the last 15, 20 years working together, keeping Tom performing at his best and pain-free, obviously, in a very competitive and difficult game of football. So everything we do here at TB12 is intended to deliver those lessons and learnings, Tom and Alex, to consumers all over the world.
Yeah, there's so much in there I definitely want to unpack. But one thing that I thought was especially interesting, and you kind of hit on it a little bit, you've held a number of roles in kind of various stages at the health and in the health and fitness space. Can you just talk a little bit about your background and maybe how you got into TB12 to begin with?
Yeah, sure. So I've been, like I said, fortunate to be around a number of companies. I just in quick summary, I got into the private equity and venture capital world in the 90s and started getting around consumer companies kind of early on. I was an early investor in a company called Bowers & Wilkins, or B&W Loudspeakers, as people know it, and progressed from there to a realization a number of years ago, probably back in the mid-2000s, that there was a lack of capital available for emerging, or probably what is now considered to be expansion stage companies. So companies that have revenue, they're growing, generally exponentially and or very quickly, and need anywhere from $3 to $10 million to really fuel their growth. And with that realization, dove headfirst into the community of companies of that size. And I've always been involved in athletics at one level or another, and particularly as an adult, I've been very active, and so took a particular interest in health and wellness, sports and fitness, and just felt like, probably going back 15 years or so now, that this huge trend of people taking care of their bodies was very real. It was going to be a generational trend, and therefore would create a lot of opportunities. And so, as I said, I've been involved in a few different things. And to bring a long story short, as I said, very active personally and individually. And back in 2016, I think it was, I actually hurt myself one night playing men's league hockey. Not unlike a lot of middle-aged athletes, I'd overdone it for a number of days. Hurt myself playing men's league hockey, and I was having a hard time walking the next day. I had a very, very badly torn muscle in my leg, and a friend of mine said, "Oh, you should go to TB12 in Foxborough, Mass. They work with a lot of injured athletes and are now working with everyday people." And I came to TB12 in 2016, and I will say somewhat miraculously, they got me largely better in 2 to 3 weeks. And I said to myself, Joe, there's a really good opportunity here. I was watching everything going on in health and wellness, sports and fitness, like I said, involved in a bunch of companies. And I said, man, if you take a look at the world for pain and injury rehab and getting people back and letting them, like, middle-aged folks like me, let them do what they love. There's something cool there. And I met Alex Guerrero, who's the co-founder of TB12 with Tom. We got to know each other a little bit. I got to know TB12 sort of inside out as a customer, if you will. And one thing led to another. Eventually then I met Tom as well. And Tom, Alex, and I talked a lot about the future and the vision of TB12 and decided to join the guys, I guess it was in the fall late summer, fall of 2018. So I've been here about 2.5 years now.
Yeah, it's a great story. And I think in that time, as I've been following along, the business has grown so much. So now there's the physical locations, digital content, nutritional supplements, some fitness equipment, and obviously I'm missing some things, so you can fill in the gaps. But what all does the business entail at this point?
Yeah, so as a starting point, a big part of what drives us is to help people perform their best and live pain-free. And I think those are two very important concepts which underpin pretty much everything that we do. This business started, as I mentioned, with a facility based in Foxborough, Massachusetts, where we had a team of body coaches. We call them body coaches. They're licensed physical therapists, athletic trainers, you name it, working with athletes and individuals to keep them healthy. And that really is the core of our business for a long time. So the core, Joe, is really replicating the experience that Tom and Alex have together. And, this relationship, for them on a daily basis, multiple times a day, working on Tom's body, tweaking things on a daily basis to make sure, he's doing what he needs to recover, is what has powered him for the last, certainly the last 5 to 10 years, but even longer, 15 since he's known Alex. So the one-on-one experience is the core of everything we do. So we have a number of facilities where we do that in. We have one here in Foxborough, Mass. We have one in Boston. We have one now in Tampa. And we're looking to expand that business in partnership with a number of different entities, which we may co-locate TB12 body coaches. And that's really the pinnacle of the TB12 experience, that body coach client relationship. So we'd like to bring that to as many people as possible. But the second part of it is for, all the other people out there who aren't able to get the visit with a TB12 body coach. We have a e-commerce and content related business where we try and educate and inform people as to the things that we do here at TB12, how they can make better choices to live healthier and again, be pain free and then provide them the tools online to do it. So it's really a twofold business. One is the in-person part. The other is the remote and more digital part. And, obviously with the advent of COVID, it's forced us to be a little creative. And we now offer clients the ability to interact with a TB12 body coach remotely and digitally too. So that's a new service we started offering this year, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And since you bring it up, I kind of had it on the schedule to get to the digital content, and I guess just COVID in general. Was the idea always to kind of scale to the digital format, or did COVID bring that up or speed it up in terms of getting to it on the roadmap?
Yeah, I think the best way I could characterize what COVID did for us, and we're probably not alone in this regard, relative to technology and being more remote. I think COVID for us just compressed space and time a little bit, right? We, much like I thought many years ago, we were on a generational trend, a big macro trend towards people taking better care of their bodies. I'd argue the same thing's been happening with technology at an accelerating pace the last few years for sure, but definitely over the last 10, 15 years. And we've had an app available to consumers for a few years, and it had been in process of kind of rethinking the future of that app and what it could be, and rethinking how we might better use technology to serve our clients and customers. But candidly, we had a lot of things going on. I appreciate some of the things you said earlier about, since you've been observing us, and just we hadn't fully begun to finalize that plan and then implement and execute against our technology-related plan. So we had to basically pull up some of the ideas we had for the future for 2021, 2022, and try and make some of the things happen this year. And these virtual appointments with a TB12 body coach were one of them. And, rather than investing in a large tech platform on our own or whatnot, we obviously utilize things that are out there now, like all of us do, for instance, Zoom, to facilitate these virtual appointments. And And then, of course, on the other side, we just finalized the launch on the Varus by Equinox platform to provide active recovery classes, again, a core component of our program, to their audience as well. Things we were thinking about, but if you asked me on, February 1st or March 1st of this year, would I tell you that these would have happened this year? I probably not. I would have said 2021, maybe 2022. So.
Yeah, lots of shifting timelines, priorities, accelerating trends, all those things packed into a few short 9 months or long, depending on how days blur together. But the Varus by Equinox brings up an interesting point. I mentioned following along, you've done a really great job, an interesting job with the partnership. So there's a licensing deal with IMG, Varus by Equinox for digital content. I think that's the Good Kitchen you partnered with on prepared meals. And really interesting, and I don't know if it was like huge news at the time, but acquired a supplement company called Vital Fit. Can you talk about how you think about partnerships in general and maybe these deals specifically?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So, one of the things about us here at TB12, and it's one of the reasons I think Tom, Alex, and I kind of see eye to eye. Obviously, they have a strong perspective on what it takes to win, the commitment, and really going all in to do it. And one of the things I've learned in my career, Joe, from some of the great people I've been fortunate to work with and for and whatnot as well. There's a certain degree of urgency that you can bring to things as an entrepreneur, and with the appropriate amount of vision and urgency, you can make some great things happen. So. Having been a client at TB12 before I even, probably for a year or two before I even began to talk to Alex and then Tom about maybe joining, I began to, in my own mind, have this vision of what TB12 could be. And so when I started, I kind of started on first base, if you will, because I was already very familiar with the company. And as I think about partnerships, I believe in general in business, partnerships can be a great way to grow, particularly in this day and age. And I believe very strongly in trying to create win-win scenarios with our partners. So I think, not to go through each one of them, although we certainly could, I think a couple examples of things, just maybe first starting with, the Vital Fit acquisition. I have found in my career that there is no replacing good talent. And when I met the Vital Fit guys, they had come to me for some advice kind of early on. I was super impressed with their entrepreneurial spirit, their vision for the supplement category. I was very, very impressed with the brand they'd built on their own. And in my vision for TB12, at least culturally and team-wise, I said, these are the type of people we need in our company. And I also felt very strongly that from a product standpoint, it was a category that we needed to move into. So that one for me was at some level an easy decision. So we did that one early on. Maybe we take something like Varus by Equinox or, the Good Kitchen relationship. Maybe start with Good Kitchen. Good Kitchen to me, so much of what people talk about is what does Tom eat and what does he drink? And that's something that's, of huge interest to folks. I've been around enough. I don't want us to be in the business of cutting vegetables and meats and doing prepared meals. So, this is definitely a category we wanted to partner in. I think the operational complexity of that business is sort of beyond the scope of what we could do, but it's an important solution for our consumers. And so we want to provide that solution. So, we did that deal because, they're good at doing that. I think the notion of it being frozen makes it very convenient, which is on trend. And then, we don't have to, we can deliver the solution without actually having to, be involved in the operations of it. And then I think, Varus, by Equinox, they're a best in class brand. They've done a great job. As you know, Equinox, the parent company. I thought that they would be a tremendous partner to help us represent our brand more quickly than we could on our own, just given, all the time and money and energy they put into the production studios and the platform itself. And they've been great partners. So I've been fortunate to be with them. And I'm excited here in the first month or two of the launch.
Yeah. And all these things, as they ramp up and get going, you talk about having a vision for kind of these different categories. Is the goal ultimately to make TB12 an all-encompassing health and wellness brand, or even to the point you mentioned some of the things being outside the realm of what you want to work on directly, but vertically integrating some of this? Because a lot of times what you see, especially when a company is focused on performance and fitness and kind of a physical location, everything else gets siloed. So nutrition gets siloed, supplements get siloed, recovery even sometimes is separate from that. But you've kind of said, we're going to do all these things and have various partnerships where we need to. So how do you think about building the all-encompassing brand?
Yeah, and that's been part of our challenge. And some of this predates my arrival at the company, Joe. And if you and I were having a conversation about, the ABC company and, we're looking at it and, pick a category it's in, the company makes protein or cookies, you and I would say, okay, let's be the best protein company we can be in the world, right? And just focus on that for a while and then expand from there. Well, here at TB12, because Tom leads a lifestyle that's multifaceted, even prior to my arrival, the company had got engaged in a number of different things. So stepping back for a second, really the TB12 method, the lifestyle is about a few different things. One is it's the deep force muscle pliability work that Tom does with his body coach and friend and our co-founder, Alex, every day. And then the things that you can do with devices, right? So that muscle pliability work. It's about how he trains in a more functional method, not using a lot of heavy weights, training, at speed for what he's trying to do, what he eats, what he drinks, and then overlaying it all is just sort of his winning mindset he applies to everything. So when you look at these different things we're doing, I think sometimes what gets lost and it's hard to follow, but I think will get easier over time is we are trying to provide the TB12 method to the masses. And we're trying to do it in a way where people can find solutions for each of these silos. So whether it's, buying our vibrating pliability devices, or whether it's buying, the Good Kitchen partnered meals that we do, the performance meals, or whether you buy our resistance bands, or, you buy our electrolytes for hydration. These things all exist because they tie back to what Tom does. And, I think if he were on the phone right now, he would say that the single biggest thing which has impacted his life and his ability to perform at the level he does is this notion of muscle pliability and the body work, the hands-on body work he gets from TB12 body coaches, and especially Alex. But, everyone can't have that, hence the devices. But he would also tell you it's not one thing, it's everything, right? So the choices of what you eat, what you drink, how you train impacts it. So our business and all these different things we talk about tie back to this TB12 method and this lifestyle that, not only Tom leads now, but, thousands of people who kind of follow what we do and are clients and customers of ours.
Yeah, I think when you start to look at, obviously, Tom's accomplishments and notoriety, building out this all-encompassing lifestyle brand, I'd be curious, well, I guess maybe two-part question. Is there a blueprint that you're following in terms of, we've seen lots of different celebrities get involved in health and wellness. We've seen athletes get involved, whether that's as investors or brands. So is there a blueprint you're following? And then the second part being, like, what's Tom's motivation for doing this when he's the, 6-time Super Bowl champ, seems to have it all and is plenty busy enough doing what he's doing already?
Yeah. So let me start with that. Let me start with the second part and I'll come back to the first. So, I always say, when people ask me that a lot, and I say in my experience with Tom the last few years and, getting to spend a lot of time with him, there's a lot of things he cares about in life, but as far as I can tell, there's three things that are the biggest to him. His family seems to lead the way, which I admire him for. He obviously is incredibly passionate about football. And the third thing is really TB12. And the reason TB12 is so important to him is he's a NFL quarterback, obviously Super Bowl champion. He's very interested in winning, right? So economic success for the business is very important to him. But I would say why TB12 matters more than anything to him is he deeply, deeply believes that the things that we do, especially as it relates to trying to keep people pain-free, is something the world needs to know. And he's very, very passionate about getting that word out. And, he would tell you, had he not made some of these life choices, had he not met Alex, he would not be playing football right now. And so he feels, I'd say at some level, a sense of duty to make sure the world knows about this. So it's interesting, right? Because we have the economic pressures of a business, and I do as a CEO, but then you also have the purpose pressures of bringing this to the world and doing it in a big way. So it's a great challenge and something that myself and the team get very excited about. So I think that's a big part of what motivates him is what motivates us. But from a blueprint standpoint, again, myself having a diverse set of experiences, one thing I've learned is, I think you can pull great lessons from many different places and non-directly related, sectors, if you will. And if you're really good, you can synthesize the best of the best and pull it together. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here at some level at TB12. We're trying to pull from some of the best practices from, again, great company, for instance, like an Equinox that, runs best in class fitness facilities, and learn from them. How can we have a premium experience for our customers here? We're way more like a physical therapy clinic than an Equinox, but they do such a great job of developing their brand and providing a premium service. We want to learn from them. On the e-commerce and content side of our business, look, there's plenty of companies out there that, that do a great job. So we're always trying to learn from the big companies to the small companies. So, we try and mix and match from different companies to take what we think are the best practices that'll help us, bring TB12 to more people more quickly.
Yeah, and thinking about bringing it to more people, I'd be curious to know how you think about who the target consumer is. You kind of alluded to this, just given your own personal experience with the brand, maybe an athlete who gets back into it and maybe injures themselves. But who is this target consumer, and maybe what are they choosing TB12 over? So they're leaving behind maybe these other products or services to come over and use what you guys offer.
It's a great question. And I think, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Certainly you need to understand your customer and your consumer. So the way we think about it, Joe, is pretty simple. So we think about serving everyone who wants to stay active, be energetic, youthful, and performing at their best. And we think of it regardless of age, athleticism, or ultimately location, right? That's the umbrella we operate under. But, I would tell you more granularly, the consumer that we're focusing on is, someone who thinks that performance is important, someone who understands recovery is important. We work in our centers with a lot of high school and college athletes, but at the end of the day, the core of our consumer tends to be the 30 to 35 and up crowd, the people who've been athletic and, now they're starting to come to terms with their mortality a little bit. And they say, oh, wait a second, my knee's hurting, I can't run. My hip hurts, I can't do this or that. My elbow hurts, I can't lift. Those tend to be our core consumers. We find a lot of people who buy from us online or come visit us in our centers. They're into CrossFit, they're into cycling, they're into golf, a lot of runners, a lot of people from kind of the group fitness world, if you will, or just fitness enthusiasts. So people who already have an appreciation and understanding for performance and recovery, skew a little bit older, right? It's not the average, 23-year-old, although we do have, those consumers, and people who are taking the long view on health and wellness. And that's kind of a big part of, our objective is to be less about the vanity of fitness, but be more about the longevity of fitness, if you will, and wellness.
Yeah, and obviously that is very well suited for Tom and kind of his approach to the longevity within the game and continuing to play all these years. So definitely makes sense. Yeah, you mentioned speaking to him and his passion and almost a duty for the work that you're doing at TB12. Obviously, on your side, running the business, making sure that everything lines up and is trending in the right direction. How have you approached building the team and the culture to ensure success?
Yeah, as you know, it's probably one of the hardest things to do in companies. And I think for any company where the founders are still involved, and Tom and Alex are involved in our business, although, I kind of run it day to day and kind of set the strategy and whatnot, they're definitely involved. I think for any business where the founders are involved, you need to, at some level, incorporate, some of their personality into the culture and their values into the culture. So, I think for us, that's one thing that's been important to me. And so, I just maybe just because Tom's a little more public, obviously, than Alex, a little easier for people to conceptualize it. Winning matters to Tom. Definitely a pursuit of excellence matters to Tom. Doing the right thing matters to Tom. He has a great saying. I love, well done's better than well said. All these different things that are sort of a part of Tom, I try and channel into, our culture, as well as some, strong beliefs I have. And, we try and surround ourselves with people who in our company who, embody these values and have a like-mindedness to succeed. I love to find people who are intrinsically motivated. Tom was always intrinsically motivated, right? He wanted to be great at football because he loved football, right? And actually, it wasn't about the Super Bowls when he was a kid, right? He did it because he loved it, and that has lasted, most of his career. And so again, we're looking for people who are intrinsically motivated. We're very fortunate. We've hired a number of people since I've been here. We probably had 20 people when I started. We probably have 65 or so now, I think, at last count. I think coming into 2021, we've got a number of new jobs going up. We're fortunate. We get a lot of people applying, a lot of people reaching out, networking their way in. So, we're also able to, screen people not only on functional capabilities and direct experience, but also we spend a lot of time getting to know people when we bring them into the TB12 team, because, we call it internally, we call it the TB12 family, right? So, you want to, it's nice, you're born, I guess you're born with your family at one level, but here at TB12 and the TB12 family, we interview for the TB12 family. So, we're very careful about it.
Yeah. And one of those things, I think it's potentially interesting. How do you talk about the relationship that Tom and Alex have and how it has in so many ways contributed to Tom's success, but also building this business. How do you replicate that? So is there like a training protocol that the other, I don't know if you call them body coaches, go through? Or are you thinking about, that as just being part of the business, or is that a business in and of itself where you start to think about, can we certify people to do this? How do you think about replicating that relationship, I think, is the punchline.
Well, you just made my day by asking that. So the answer is yes. We are going to look to certify what we do. So let me step back for a second, just give you some context on that. So Alex and Tom have this unique relationship. It's grown over the last 15, 20 years. And what originally, when the first TB12 clinic opened in Foxborough, is much smaller than it is now. The idea was to work with other athletes and individuals to replicate that. And so over time now, we've got about 25 TB12 body coaches. We use the word coach because everyone can relate to a coach, right, at some level. And our body coaches, they don't just do manual therapy on our clients. They coach them up on nutrition, right? They help them think about hydration. We do lots of exercise with them, particularly corrective exercise, to get their bodies moving right. So there's a lot of embedded, IP and knowledge in that. And in particular, a lot of people don't realize, because we get compared a lot to traditional fitness, and there's definitely a little bit of an element of that. But I think of us more as like medical fitness. We're kind of at that intersection of healthcare service delivery and fitness. And our body coaches are either physical therapists or athletic trainers. All of them highly credentialed at that. For instance, most of our physical therapists, I think, most all of them have PhDs in physical therapy. And so we've developed and codified what Alex and Tom have learned over the years. And we've begun the process of now trying to expand that part of our business. And we're going to do it in a couple ways. One is we're looking to find unique partners where we can embed TB12 body coaches. So whether that's other fitness facilities, medical facilities, corporate wellness, military institutions, and we will train up TB12 body coaches to co-locate in these locations. The second thing that we're looking at doing, and you nailed it, Joe. One of the things I'm most excited about is we are finishing up the curriculum and the program to launch a TB12 affiliate program. And we are going to train interested professionals in the TB12 method, and in particular, our methods of manual therapy to help us scale that part of the business. And again, fulfill Tom and Alex's mission of bringing this to people all over the world. I think we can scale this business faster with affiliates than we can, doing everything, TB12, corporate employees, if you will. So we're very, very excited about that. And we view our IP and our knowledge, we very much view it as IP, our ability to fix people that are broken and in pain. It's funny. It's like, and we're a destination of last resort for a lot of people. I can't tell you how many people come here and they've gone to physical therapy for 2 years and just can't get better. Then they come to TB12 and 2 weeks later, they're better. Like, again, I share with you my story, but my whole leg was black and blue when I came here. I could barely walk, and it was not looking good for my recovery. A lot of people, 6 months, it's going to take you, John, to get better. 2 to 3 weeks later, I was running. So there's a real knowledge base here, which is very, very special that we need to get out either through affiliate certifications or, like I said, co-location partnerships.
Yeah, it'll be really great to see that come together. I think just having followed along with and worked with some other companies doing similar things. And as it relates to education certification, it's not only a massive business, it's a great way, to your point, to scale the impact and get the word out there, get the methods out there as well. And I think that point may have taken a little bit of wind out of the sails in my last question here, but maybe you can help me as we look to wrap up. We'll get you out of here on this. Is there anything, or maybe anything else, now that we talked about the certification, we should have on the radar as we get into 2021?
I think the certification is the big one. I think the other one, but I think this will be a little further out. It goes back to your questions in and around COVID and our use of technology. I would like us to become, as a company, more tech-enabled and best in class in the use of digital technologies to deliver what we do to more people more quickly. I think you said it very well, kind of, scaling the impact. And so I would say certainly not imminently, but as you look down the road to the back half of 2021 into 2022, I would expect people to look to us using more technology so we can get what we do out to more people more quickly. Because for us, we are certainly trying to build a business with economic success. But, for Tom and Alex, and certainly for me, and I know our whole team, the joy we get, the satisfaction we get from our clients and customers, and the stories of, how we're enabling them to get back in the game or to do what they love longer than they ever thought they could have. That's probably one of the greatest gifts that, we can receive here at TB12. And it's a huge motivation for us to get what we do out to more people. And certainly technology, as you know, is a big facilitator of reaching more people. So I look forward to being a more tech-enabled, more tech-centric organization longer term.
Yeah, a lot going on. It's been a busy 2020, a lot to look forward to in 2021. So I appreciate you, taking the time, but also taking us behind the scenes a little bit. And I think people will find a lot of value in this conversation. So thanks for being on.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you very much, Joe, for having me.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's episode. For more from Fit Insider, visit insider.fit.co and subscribe to our weekly newsletter for insights and analysis on the business of fitness and wellness. Then go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. See you next time.